Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is Michelle Aspinwall. She is a dear friend of mine. She is a coach and a supporter of mine. Thank you, my darling friend, for joining us here today and for being just totally awesome. Actually, thank you for being completely you. So, Michelle, we've been talking and I've been bragging a little bit about you on my Facebook group this week, largely because my experience with you in the last month, I took a short course with you about eating and hormones, and that was really transformational for me physically and emotionally. But you're doing a lot of different things, so I wanted actually just to highlight you and share you with the world so that you can support as many women in the world as need your support. Michelle, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. And you are a powerful force of nature as well. And having you in the fasting and eating course was one of the best things that's ever happened to that course. I mean, honestly, it was it was incredible. It was really incredible. The love is most definitely flying back over the interwaves to you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome to our mutual brag fest, our celebration of one another fest.
Exactly.
So my experience of you is really largely informed by that 3 weeks that we spent together with fasting and nutrition. So that's really most of what I know about you, but I want to know more about you because I know you're building something else. I know you do a lot more than even what that 3-week experience was. But just in case somebody is listening to this or watching this and they haven't read this week's posts, I spent 2.5, 3 weeks learning about intermittent fasting with Michelle. She taught about the main lessons that I took away are like the difference between nourishing and feeding, because I'd really been feeding my body, but I hadn't nourished my body. So I actually learned, I thought I knew a lot, but I learned more about what kinds of foods and when and the combinations and, you know, all of that stuff. I'd heard about intermittent fasting and I'd tried it for a minute, but I was like, I'm intermittent fasting, so I can have brownies for like 8 hours a day, right? And so I, surprise, surprise, I hadn't been wildly successful with it. And within, I think, my first meal, I was like, oh my God, I had a mouthgasm because for the first, I did. This is sort of an intimate conversation, but I had glorious, I'm even remembering them now, glorious sensations that moved throughout my body because I had put things together that I maybe had never put together, and I wasn't eating in the first place. And so it was joyful. It was really profound change physically. Like I mentioned, I lost 9 pounds, but it connected me to my body and my emotions in a way that I had really been practicing not to be connected to my body and my emotions while eating. So that was my experience in your course. The whole point of this call is actually so that you can talk, but I just wanted to catch everybody up with what I've already shared about you, because it transformed me. It transformed my relationship with myself and my obligation to taking care of this awesome body that I have.
Yes.
Because I'd sort of been taking it out on my body with food, and that's not what food could be. As I've learned, it's so much more fun. So I want to stop talking and I want to let you introduce yourself, however you like to introduce yourself, and then we'll go from there. How's that sound?
That sounds great. So I just want to, again, thank everybody who's on. Thank all the ladies who have jumped on. I can see some comments here. And again, Ciara, thank you so much for having me. It's such a dream and such a pleasure to, number one, know you in the capacity that I do, and also having now know you even better, having done one program, and the excitement of you jumping into Timeless as well. So everybody out there, ladies, my name is Michelle Aspinwall. I'm an age alchemist and founder of the bespoke skincare line A-Skin. I'm an integrative biohacker, and I've mastered the naturally advanced technologies for sexy, playful women, dignified women over 40. So you don't have to be over 40 to sort of jump into this world, but I'm going to tell you right now that and Ciara knows this firsthand, that there's a massive shift that happens that goes on for women. And I use that word "for" very intentionally. It doesn't happen to us, but it happens for us. And 40 is just kind of an arbitrary number that, you know, in the West, it's a big deal to sort of turn 40. And so what's interesting is after 40, a lot of things start to shift. So there's a mental shift, but there's also a physical shift, and there's a spiritual or energetic shift. And the beautiful thing is when you actually imagine that it's for you and not against you, then it changes the way you actually do life and the way you perceive aging, the way you interact with your body, both intimately and outwardly, to be quite honest, who you surround yourself with, the people, the places, how you imagine life gets to be. Because a lot of us, so there's a lot of hormones involved and a lot of hormone shifts that happen after 40. And estrogen, yeah, wait till 50. 50 is what, so I'm 48. I'm going to be 50 in 2 years. And I actually can't wait. I mean, of course, there's a part of me that's like a bit nervous because it's like, holy wow, like more than half my life is over, possibly. You know, science is always getting better. Biohacking is always getting better. My kids think I'm going to live to be 120. Who knows? I mean, it's always possible, right? But by 50, at least right now, currently, usually a woman's life is about halfway over, or if not more than halfway over. And I think that's kind of a big thing to deal with mentally. And between 40 and 50, it's kind of this decade that feels like it can last a lifetime. I don't know if some of you, I'm just laughing at some of the comments because they're absolutely fantastic. Beverly's like, it's mental liberation to turn 50. I love that. I'm feeling that mental liberation happen like on a day-to-day basis, having just turned 48 last month. So I feel it each year. I feel like there's like more layers that have been shed, and I feel a lot more available to myself, to be myself, and to really age timelessly, which is, I mean, that is going to be my catchphrase now for the next 6 months, because it's such a gift to age. And I think we as women, you know, I'm not one of those who likes to jump on the being crushed by the man and society it's just not my MO. I know it's out there. I know it happens. I know it's all around us. I know Madonna's spoken about it. It's not easy to age in many industries, but here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say this with absolutely every cell in my body, like lining up to give me the strength to say this. Like, it's such a gift. It's a gift to age naturally. It's a gift to connect with the earth, to really connect with the seasons, to connect with our cycles. Not only our cycles, like our monthly cycle, but also Cassandra's in the house. Hi, Cassandra. This is like a mutual friend. Like, how is it possible that we have this mutual friend? And I think I was like, I know somebody else who lives in Colombia, which is like people saying that to me about, oh, I know somebody in New York. Really? I know, like, you know, 500,000 people in a city of 8 million plus people. Like, how is it possible that we have this friend in common? At any rate, but back to aging. So with all of the cells in my body, I really believe that when we can connect with the vessel, because it's such a gift. Like, I was listening, who was I listening to the other day? Because it's all about inspiration right now. I'm just out of conspiracy theories. I'm out of like the news. I just can't even, I don't have the bandwidth for that. I was listening to someone and she was saying something to the effect of, you know, souls line up in the millions to get into a physical body. So there's no mistake that we're here. It's absolutely no mistake that we are here right now in this physical form at this moment in time with a very specific purpose that comes directly from our source, from our soul, from our heart. And when we speak from that place, when we do life in that way, I mean, look out, because that's how we grab the world, and that's how we change the trajectory of what's happening and what is happening not only for us, but our, the generation that we're also raising. Because I have kids, CR has kids. I'm sure a lot of you have kids out there. Like, we're trying to change the world right now, not only for us and for Mother Earth, but also for the generations, and then the generations that I won't be alive for, like my descendants of descendants, right? So I feel like that's what I needed to say to introduce myself, because that's what I'm about. And I do that through the lens of like really combining Eastern philosophy and traditional Eastern healing with like cutting edge, as I said, cutting edge Western science, biohacking, intermittent fasting, like really using what we've got from both Mother Earth and technology, combining the two and making it so powerful and changing the way the aging process gets to be. Because look, we can be 70 and active and killing it, because there's a lot of women 70 plus that's like literally their mark on the world happened after 60, and for some after 70. I mean, if you think of like the great authors, some of the great musicians, some of the great artists, Louise Bourgeois, Tula. Who wrote Tula? Toni Morrison, like some of the great female, the people I look up to, the people that I, calibrated to. I mean, Tony's no longer walking on the physical plane, but I mean, I don't think Louise Bourgeois is either, actually, but they've passed in the past like couple of years, and it was such a gift to have their art and to have their voice present. And it's just how we have to do it. So I just don't think that turning 40, 50, 60 is like, it's all pot from here. It's like, this is the beginning. Because we're not raising kids anymore. We're not having kids. We're always mothers, but we're not in the raising. We're not in the child wrangling, rearing, caring for. We're in the enjoyment phase. I mean, that's what I like to call it. I refuse to think that teenage years are rough. They're just not going to be rough. I'm unavailable for that. So
I love the teenage years.
Yeah, I'm super psyched. I mean, we're about to enter them. I have one son that's going to turn a teenager here in, 2 months. I'm super psyched. So, that's what I have to say so far.
Well, and this is one of the reasons you and I connected before I even became a client of yours, is because we have overlapping intentions. We come at the same thing from really different angles. What I hear, if someone goes into their 40th year or their 50th year with a story like that, you said that life is over, I'm never going to have sex again, I'm going to lose my job, like any stories,
Yes.
They don't have to even be that dramatic, and they're probably not that dramatic. They're so subtle, just sort of woven into our psyches, absorbed and picked up from our grandmothers that said something blah 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 when life expectancy was 56. The stories that we hold are the ones that we enact. And so one of the things I really appreciate is the work that you do. Two of the things is that you really throw that false assumption out. You really throw it out. And the other thing that I love about you, because I do it too, is the blending and the like pulling from the scientific and the mystic.
Yeah.
That's my thing. I'm trying to figure out how to do both simultaneously and not confuse people. And I think I've got it. But I love that you don't just take one dogma and you're like, this one. You're like, this one over here and this one over here, and they both work and they support each other. Mm-hmm. And here's how to interact with them. And in doing so, you help women rewrite the script so that the next 40 and 50 and 60 years of our lives are fundamentally different than we've ever conceived them to be. And they are unparalleled. No woman has lived like this before.
Mm-mm. No.
And we can make it. And that's, you know, the work that I do too, is changing our thoughts so we can change our lives.
Yes.
So that's where my crush on you comes from, is the remaking of the story.
Yeah.
Because whatever we believe, right? If we believe that it's over, then we're right. And if we believe that this is just the beginning, then we're right. I'm still wrangling, by the way. I'm wrangling a 5-year-old. So I'm going to do that for 2 seconds, and you tell us more about how awesome you are.
You are a riot. So I love this. And it's true. I mean, Sarah's living it right now. Like, we are in the throes of redefining motherhood, redefining business. I mean, like everyone else, I've been 8 weeks. So I'm coming to you guys live from New York City, and I've been living with my husband. And I mean, we always live together, but we've been living literally like every moment of every day together for the past 8 weeks, and having to coexist. And I mean, we have 4 rooms. We're lucky. We have 4 rooms, 1 for each person at any given time. And not a lot of outdoor time. So the part of what we're trying to do right now in this awakening, if you will, this new beginning, right? Which is a whole other project that we're involved in, which is not even part of this live, but part of what we, Ciara and myself and a whole host of women, I mean, I know hundreds who are literally stepping up, recognizing this is the time to take radical responsibility. And I'll take that further. Like, that's one of my things, like, as women, we need to take radical responsibility for our health. But here's what I'm going to say is that we need to do it with delight. So it's responsibility coupled with delight, because it's that delight that we take in caring for ourselves, caring for the people we love, caring for the tribe or the tribes that we are a part of, that become part of us. That's the beauty of this. So I just feel like we're no longer having to figure this out on our own, and that this kind of connection, which is very much indicative of traditional cultures. I mean, women used to labor together. Women used to, it was the whole tribe that took care of the kids. It was the whole tribe that took care of each other, as through the transition of menopause, and also the transition from the physical realm to the spiritual realm. So I think this is such a pinnacle time in terms of what we have thought of as normal is now no longer normal, and we are watching it unfold as we speak. And the panic and the fear going on specifically right now is something that I didn't plan to speak about this, but it's very akin to the panic and the fear that I hear and listen to with women as they turn 40 and about to turn 50, is that fear of becoming undesired, that fear of becoming, of their worth being smaller, their physical presence diminishing. Like, women's bodies definitely, we start to take on a different physical shape. And so, and then with that fear comes then the perception that we're no longer important, and what we say no longer matters. And then we really start to become sort of part of the fabric of time. And I have to say that that's absolutely not true. And I'm here to redefine aging as we know it, redefine how women get to be and get to have it in their 50s and 60s and 70s and beyond. And lastly, I just want to say that the practices that we take on in our 40s, particularly, I mean, obviously, the younger you do this, the more woke and the more the energy shift changes. But what you do in your 40s and your early 50s is really pinnacle to how your life and health plays out in your 50s and 60s and 70s and beyond. Because right now is when So when you manage your life, manage the vessel, and thrive, it's actually creating what you get to do and feel and be as you age. So dementia isn't this thing. Dementia and dementia-like symptoms aren't these things that happen to people at 70 plus. They're the things that start happening before the symptoms occur. And they begin as the hormones start to shift in the late 30s and early 40s. So it's these habits right now when we really, really care for the vessel. This is again going back to that idea of like radical responsibility, but with delight. So when we really take care of and inhabit this vessel fully, vessel meaning our body, then we actually change how we function on a cellular level, which then changes how our bodies show up and do life for us, with us, to us as we go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really appreciate that. It's the taking responsibility, the radical responsibility, and I'm going to repeat it again because it needs to be repeated multiple times a day, with delight. I'm speaking next week at a female leadership conference, and I'm sharing exactly about this, that the energy that we bring to something determines the result of the thing. We can, and I'm, speaking to leaders and change makers, and it's all women. And I saw this in myself, and I see this in women still, that there's some perception or perceived sense that if we give of ourselves to abandon, hey, excuse me, my love, just a second. The gelatina's not ready. It's going to be ready when it's dark. Okay? Yeah, dark. Such a long time. When we give of ourselves completely, and to the point that like we have nothing left, and it's giving of ourselves not from this abundant, joyous place, but from this place of obligation, then in my own experience, I even noticed like just being tired and resentful and, bitter and all of this stuff that didn't serve me. And it certainly didn't serve my larger goal of like in my past career being a great teacher or anything. Oh, Piglet got all dirty. Gross. We are having a puppy interlude. If you are watching this with us, this interlude. Here's my new addition. Joyous. Doing everything with puppyish delight, right? Puppyish delight. Do you want to take her? No. What do you want to leave us with? Because I want to, if anyone's watching right now, drop a question if you have any specific questions about what Michelle does, how she can radically change your life, how she can support you. If you watch later or you're listening to the podcast, send us a message. Let us know what resonated, where your questions are. Michelle, tell us what you are bringing forth.
So this is such an incredible conversation, and I feel like this is what I'm birthing right now as we speak, and this is the membership that we're talking about as we speak right now, Timeless. So this is a 6-month engagement, okay? This engagement, ladies, is an engagement with the woman inside of you, the woman that you are yearning to come to and commune with, the one wanting to integrate responsibility and delight, as we've said 1,000 times. And if you're feeling this pause and wanting to not only surround yourself with like-minded females like us, there's already people in this group, but I'm gathering the women right now, and I'm going to take everybody through a process over the course of 6 months. Each month is going to have a different motivation to it, and throughout throughout each month, I'll have not only myself, we'll have some live calls, but we'll also have a Facebook group. We'll have daily check-ins, and I'm also going to invite other professionals to come in who are connected to the subject matter, and really we're going to create this incredible group. And when we all sort of part after 6 months, hopefully the world will be a different place. It has to be. And we will all have redefined, both for ourselves and also within this group, what it means to age gracefully and timelessly. Because when you surround yourself with people who think outside of the box and hold you to a particular standard. And I don't mean standard like look a certain way, talk a certain way, but I mean the habits that you take on a daily basis when you show up for yourself and you create these rock solid habits and rituals, you're able to take on the really powerful subjects, the really powerful elements of your life that maybe you've been timid, or I don't want to say afraid, because we're not afraid of our lives, but sometimes we just need a little nudge to push ourselves into the next dimension, the next version of us. And so that's part of what Timeless is this incredible support system and engagement, and also to learn some things along the way, both from the East and from the West. So the first month is going to be creating an energy practice. So it's a segment of learning a particular way of moving for about 10 or 15 minutes. I don't want to give a lot away because you really have to come inside the container. I want women, it's not about what you get in this container. It's about who you decide to show up with and surround yourself with and the woman you want to become. So that's what this is about. If you resonate with me and Ciara, and there's other women in the group who you're not getting the opportunity to talk with now, but you'll meet each other, and we will create this bond and become this incredible shield to then propel us forward into the new normal. So this group is called Timeless. We're going to leave the links everywhere for you to sign up. Through this group, you have the opportunity right now to get in at the founding member price of $444. And that is gonna, that price is dependent on how long that we keep this group, the launch goes open. That didn't make any sense. So that price is open until we hit the max capacity. So we've got 6 spots at $444. Then after that, it goes to $555. So I want to encourage you guys to jump in at the founding member rate. That's less than $100 a month. And you're going to have incredible support, and you're going to be in a container of people that are amazing. So that is Timeless.
That's it. And what else is there, right?
Yeah.
So if you're watching right now, if you're watching later, if you hear this in the podcast, I just want you to take a second. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whatever's spinning around in your head and in your body, just ground for a second and reconnect with yourself. Because so often I completely lose myself in all of the things that I'm trying to do. So just check in and feel what it is that you need, whatever that happens to be. And enjoy the song. Michelle, I want to thank you so much for following your passions, actually, to the point of weaving this incredible offer together. Because in the 3 weeks that I worked with you, I learned a lot intellectually. I learned a lot cellularly, and I'm not done. I don't think there is a done, right? The work that I do, I talk often about, we're different all the time. And even my weekly women's circles, I'm like, okay, hi, who are you this week? It's been a whole week since I saw you. So we're always changing, and emotionally, physically, we're evolving and growing. And I do feel like sort of every day is a choice. It's like, are we going to choose to wrestle with it? Are we going to grapple and engage and bear hug this opportunity? Or are we going to keep life at arm's distance and just be like, oh, I don't know, it's uncomfortable, or it's hard, or I'd rather not deal with this. And so, yeah, I want the bear hug folks. I want to be surrounded by the people who are ready to wrestle.
Yeah.
So,
with delight.
Yeah, well, all of it. I mean, I invite the people who want to play with me to wrestle with all of it.
Yeah.
There's room for all of it. But Yeah, thank you so, so much for being here, sharing with us. We're going to drop links everywhere. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Beverly, for tuning in, and for all the other folks who have connected with us. Leave questions, comments, and reach out to Michelle whenever you are inspired. And I'm always here to support your flourishing and your fulfillment on all levels. Sending love. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.